So here are some of the books, or most of the books that I read in March and April, and today we're going to do a wrap up of all of these books, plus the ones I couldn't check out from the library. I get all of my books from the library, whether they're actual books, digital books, or audio books. I very rarely purchase a book. I did purchase one book that's on this list today, and I'll tell you which one I purchased, but other than that, everything comes from my local library. So again, this month I am going to, like I did last month, I'm going to share the books I read from 5 stars down to, my lowest rating this month is a 3 star, so my 5 stars down to 3 stars. Okay, so my first 5-star read from this past couple months is Apples Never Fall by Leanne Moriarty. This is a contemporary fiction mystery, and it's about a family in Australia, a tennis family, because the mom and the dad were both tennis players and tennis instructors, and all their kids play tennis. But this takes place when the kids are all grown up and they're adults and the parents are retired, and all of a sudden the mom is missing. So the police are investigating the husband, the father, to see if perhaps he's the reason why she is missing or if something else happened. And you also get to learn more about each of the children's lives, and they all have unique stories and situations, and it's just a really well-written book. It's very interesting. It's funny it's about tennis, because I actually read this other tennis book first, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and then I read this and I was like, oh, another book about tennis. And I'm like so not a tennis person, but it was good still, even though it was all about tennis. Even though they talk about tennis, it's not all about tennis. So 5 stars, highly recommend, very good book. So here is the other book that I read that was all about tennis, and this is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the 3rd book that I've read by her. I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six, and so it's actually the 4th book, and Malibu Rising. So this is the 4th book I've read by her. So this is about tennis. This is about a tennis player, Carrie Soto. She's actually retired. Her father is her tennis coach, and it's about her comeback. When she was injured, she took time off. She's a little bit older. She's coming back to reclaim her title, or to keep her title, because she's about to lose it. Like, she has a record. The thing is I'm not into tennis at all. I know nothing about tennis, and I still loved this book. So if you're not into tennis, don't let that stop you from reading this book. It was an excellent book about relationships. Dives into the relationship of her and her father, her relationship with other people. She has a romantic relationship, just all of it. And it was an excellent book. I absolutely loved it. Highly recommend. Okay, so this next 5-star book is so popular at my library that you can only check it out for 7 days. And unfortunately, it has this big ugly sticker covering up part of the cover. But this is Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult, and it was excellent. So this is a story of a young man, I believe he's 18, like just turned 18, and he is accused of murdering his girlfriend. And it turns out, I don't know if this is I don't want to spoil anything for you. It's just excellent. So there's a lot of twists and turns, and I found myself questioning, did he do it? Did he not do it? It wasn't really clear, and there's a lot of the book is the court case and then like flashbacks to the relationship, but it was so well done. There's a big twist I don't want to tell you about because I don't want to spoil any surprises for you, so I'm not going to tell you about the big twist. But yes, 5 stars, highly recommend. Okay, so my next and final 5-star read of the past couple months was Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. So good. So at the beginning of the book, it's a story of a brother and a sister. Their mother has just passed away. They're called to the reading of her will, and they're given a set of tapes, and I believe the tapes were 8 hours, like 8 hours of recordings. And what the tapes reveal is the story of her life, all of the background information about her life that her kids had no idea about, and she had a fascinating life. So this is a historical fiction. It takes place in multiple countries. Where does she start? I can't find where it starts, but it's in the Caribbean where it starts, and I think it's Trinidad, but I could be wrong about that. But there's also a portion in England, and then there's a portion in the United States. So it just kind of takes place all over the place. Her story is fascinating, and yeah, a very unique book, wonderful read, highly recommend. Okay, moving on to the 4-star reads. So the first one, I don't have an actual book to show you. It just came out. It's called The Housemaid Secret, and this is the one that I actually purchased from Amazon on my Kindle. And The Housemaid Secret is the second book in a series. The first book was The Housemaid, and I loved that book so much that I couldn't wait to read the next one. So I got on the waiting list, and then when it was available, it automatically was sent to my Kindle account, and I got to read it right away, which was super fun. But the first book, The Housemaid, was such a great mystery thriller, and that is my favorite genre. So I was a little bit curious of how they were going to handle this and still keep it like fresh and new and interesting, and I think she did a great job. I think it was a solid second book in a series, and if you're into mystery thrillers, if you liked the first book, you're definitely going to like this one as well. So 4 stars, definitely recommend. So this next book, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Frye by Rachel Joyce. So this is the story of another retired person. So this retired man who lives in a small English village with his wife, and he receives a phone call that a former coworker is in a hospital and she doesn't have long to live. So he comes up with this crazy idea that if he can walk from his village to the hospital where she is, which is in another city altogether, if he can walk there, her life will be prolonged in his head. So he starts out on this journey of walking to her, and he tells her, stay alive until I get there. And then the story is all about his journey and the relationship between him and his wife and him and his son, and having flashbacks, and it's just all the things and the people that he meets along the way. It's just a really fun book. It's a fun, solid book. It's makes you think, it touches your heart. Like, it was just a really good book. I feel like it's one of those kind of books, like if you're looking for a book about a transformation where somebody goes like on this journey, he literally goes on a journey and then he kind of transforms as he goes. I really liked that kind of story, and this was that kind of story. Very good book. Okay, and the next 4-star read for me was Cottage by the Sea by Debbie McComber. And I've never read any of her books, but I think she has a lot from what I can tell at the library. She has a lot of books. So this is a romance novel. I did not realize that it was a romance when I picked it up to read it. I'm not a fan of romances. I actually did enjoy this book. I felt like it was a very, just a cozy read. A cozy, fun, interesting story. Nothing crazy happens, although there are some fun things that happen. There's nothing like really crazy and ridiculous. No murder, no mystery thriller. But because I read so many mystery thrillers, I kept expecting something like that to happen. It never happened. It's just a cozy, romantic read, and it was fun. It was a fun, cozy read. So if you're looking for something like that, I would recommend this book. So that's it for the 4 stars. Let's move on to the 3 stars. And these two books really, it was hard to give them a rating because I didn't like them, but there were parts of the books that I liked. So I like this one, I struggled back and forth between a 2-star and a 3-star. I ended up watching the movie because there is a movie that was made after this book came out. This is called Did You Go Bernadette by Maria Semple. And I ended up watching the movie. I didn't like the movie either. Which is really sad because Cate Blanchett stars in this movie, and I absolutely love Cate Blanchett. So I thought no matter what, I would like the movie, but it turns out I didn't. So Where'd You Go Bernadette? Bernadette is an architect, or she was an architect at one period in time. She ended up moving, I think she was in LA when she was an architect. She ends up moving to Seattle with her husband, and he's like a big computer guy for some big computer company, and she ends up staying at home and being a stay-at-home mom for their one child, and basically she's not happy with her life, and she ends up running away, and it's that story. And I I didn't like it. So I gave it 3 stars though, because there are some really interesting parts. It's very well written. It's an interesting read, but I was not a fan. So 3 stars, 2 or 3 stars. Maybe I should say 2.5 stars. Okay, so the next one. Okay guys, so this last one really messed with me, and I don't have a copy of the book, so I will insert a picture for you. The last book I read, which I ended up giving 3 stars. For a long time, I was gonna give it 1 star. But this is Bunny by Mona Awad. I think it's Mona Awad. And it is a horror magical realism story. And the reason why I ended up giving it 3 stars is because I forget how the saying goes, but like when you like hate something so much that you like obsess over it, then you're really a fan. So that's this book. Like, I've obsessed over this book so much. When I finished the book, I was like, oh, I wanted to like throw my Kindle. I was so frustrated with it. But, and it was like, it's a very fever dream kind of book. And I don't like those kind of movies. I don't like those kind of shows. I don't like those kind of books where you don't know what's real. You don't know what's induced from mental illness or what's or happening from drugs or alcohol. Like, that kind of frustrates me, and that's a big part of this. But it also has a really fascinating story, so I'm all over the place. I have a friend who loves to read books too, and she and I always talk about the books we've read and we compare notes and stuff. And I did recommend that she read this book just so that I could talk to her about it, but also too, I thought out of all the books I read, that's the only one I told her that she needs to read. So I'm like, so I'm a fan. I'm a fan who hates it. I hate it, and I'm also a fan. So it is a book about this group of girls. Well, okay, there are this group of girls called bunnies, and then there's the main character. And they're all in this graduate program, this like writing graduate program at a New England college. And all the other girls, not our main character, but all the other girls call each other Bunny. Like, how are you doing, Bunny? I'm good, Bunny. How are you doing, Bunny? Like that kind of thing. So it's kind of like the movie Heathers, where they're all named Heather. And so it's a mix between the movie Heathers, The Craft, and Mean Girls. And after I read this book, to help me understand it more, because of the whole fever dream thing, it was hard for me to understand it. So after I read the book, I actually went and watched all 3 of those movies, and I realized I hated the movie Heathers. So if you hated the movie Heathers, you're probably gonna hate the book Bunny. But I liked Mean Girls and I liked The Craft, so there you go, I don't know. Okay friends, that is it for this month's wrap up, actually March and April wrap up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found some useful information on this video, and I will see you guys again later. Bye everyone.